Hi, this is Michael Andrews, author of Keep More of Your Money, the new ebook that's available at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. You can visit my website if you'd like, www.keepmoremoneybook.com. I want to make this video a lesson about asking the question, college, to go or not to go? Well, there's a lot of information that I've read and studied about in the last 5 years, and I also have some personal experience working around college campuses and working for colleges in the construction industry. So I have some unique insights into this whole question of whether or not we should go to college. Is it worth the investment today for someone to go to college? And I don't want to tell anyone what to do here. The purpose of this video lesson is to simply lay some very, very simple truths on the table and tell you about some trends that I've seen and read about in college education so that you can make a better decision about whether or not you want to go to college. You know, college education is an absolutely crucial thing for a civilized, technologically advanced society. We have to have people that go to college for all the amazing innovations that we have in communications and transportation, engineering of all kinds of vehicles, and manufacturing of electronics and the cell phones and computers we use, and all kinds of different vocations that simply require a college education, like doctors, lawyers, certain healthcare workers. A college education is not really optional in these areas, it's a must. So college education is very, very necessary for our civilized, technologically advanced society. The problem is, though, we have to decide if we are thinking about whether to go to college, or if we have children that are thinking about going to college and we're going to be footing some or all the bill, or even borrowing the money through a student loan. There's things that we have to think about before we go ahead and do that. And I could spend a lot of time on statistics and very specific information, but because that takes a lot of time, I'm going to just basically paraphrase for you what I've studied about college and the need for college graduates over about the last 50 to 75 years. Here's what I found. Basically, if you go back to the 1950s, there was not enough college graduates for the amount of jobs that were available for them. So there was basically a shortage of college graduates back in the 1950s. And over time, the number of people that graduated from college began to increase so that there was enough people to fill the positions that were available. Today, what's happened is, and I don't know exactly when this has happened, probably in about the last 10 years or so, today we have a surplus of college graduates compared to the amount of positions that are available for them. In other words, way more people are going to college that need to go to college. And this is a big problem because in the last 20 years or so, ever since the government got involved with student loans, the cost of a college education has just absolutely skyrocketed. It's gone absolutely through the roof, where I remember in the early 90s, you could go to college relatively inexpensively for, some degrees you could get for $20,000. Today, you're looking at the expenses. It's almost like mortgaging a house to pay for some of the education that's available out there. So the problem is that college education is more expensive than it's ever been, and a lot of times you're borrowing money to pay for that, and you're paying interest, but the return on your investment is as low as it's ever been. At least here in the United States of America, where I live, there is just a surplus of people that have graduated from college and have literally nowhere to go, and end up having to work just any job that they can find just to have employment. And I don't just know this because I've read about it. In about the last 5 years, I've actually met 4 young people that have gone to college and been unable to find a job that compensates them according to what they had to spend to get a degree in their field. And it's really just crazy, the amount of money, the amount of debt some of these young people are in. One young lady that I met just recently was working in a vitamin store, and she told me that she was $80,000 in debt, and she was unable to find any work at all in her career field, and she just had to take a job just to make ends meet and try to make her student loan payments every month. I met another young man, probably in his mid to late 20s, who'd gone to college and got a degree, and same thing, couldn't find any kind of work that even remotely would pay him, enough money to make it worth going to college. He was also about $80,000 in debt. And in my book, I write about a young guy who I met in an airport. I happened to be a pilot, and I was at an airport renting an airplane. And this young man was there too, and he was an instructor for this flight school, just working part-time on the weekends. And he went to a major aviation college and got himself $200,000 in debt. And there just was absolutely no prospects at all for him to get any type of a flying position that would pay him any amount of money that would make it worth it for him to go to college and get $200,000 in debt. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure there's a lot more horror stories out there, but I do not remember hearing these types of things 20 years ago. 20 years ago, if you went to college and didn't use what you went to college for, it wasn't such a big deal unless you went to some really major university. It wasn't such a big deal because it wasn't so expensive, and it just didn't hurt you to have a college education. But unfortunately today, things have changed so much. It's so much more expensive, and there's so much less use for a college degree. We just really got to ask ourselves the question, is it worth it? So these are some things to think about before either you go to college or maybe your children are going to be going to college. It's something to think about. This is I think one of the best suggestions that you may follow in deciding whether or not to go to college is I would find somebody who is actively employing people or owns a business in the prospective career field that you're thinking about going to college for, and ask them, what's the pay like? What's the prospects for the future? And you can also do your own research on the internet. The internet is a wonderful tool to be used for research to help you in any decision. There's a lot of information out there, and you kind of have to, it takes some judgment and some decision-making skills in order to weed out all the information. Sometimes there's too much information out there. But talk to people who own businesses or employ people in the prospective career field, or talk to employees that are currently working in the career field. the operative word here is currently, today, because proper information in your decision is absolutely crucial. What worked 10 years ago is not going to work today, because we're in the information age and information changes very quickly. So you want to make sure that the information that you're using to base your decision on is not based on, parents. If we don't want to base our decisions for our children based on what worked for us 20 years ago or whenever it was. We want to base our information on up-to-date, current stuff that has relevance today. The other thing we want to think about is the career field. It may be around by the time you go and get a 2-year or 4-year degree or even a trade school. The career field may still exist and there may still be employment in that career field, but look at the long-term trends for the pay in those career fields, because even though you may enjoy your work, the problem is that if over a long period of time your work is not financially rewarding as well, I've found in my own personal life anyway, and I've seen it from a lot of other people, you will eventually lose interest because it's not making sense for you to do it anymore. You may love your work, but financially you're going backwards. So look at pay trends over the last 20 or 30 years. If a certain field is still around, like, for example, a computer repair guy, they'll always be around, but the problem is what's the trend in pay for those people? So something to think about in making our decision of whether or not to go to college. A very big decision, a very important decision, and it's a decision that we need to treat like a business decision. A lot of people go to college for the wrong reasons. They go for the social prestige, the approval of other people, to be part of a group. And let's be real, a lot of kids just want to go to college for the party. Well, those are not sound reasons for going to college, because all those things I just talked about, the partying and the approval of other people, those things are basically like smoke, fog, and clouds. They're here today and they're gone tomorrow. But if you go to college and get yourself deeply in debt for thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, that can last, and the consequences can last for the rest of your life. I'm Michael Andrews, author of Keep More of Your Money. Just a reminder, you can read ebooks on your smartphone, your personal computer, or your iPad using free reading apps from the seller, or you can read them on your Kindle or Nook reader. Again, my website is www.keepmoremoneybook.com. Thanks for listening.